give a short introduction on the history of the company. So actually, NCT Group was founded back in 1985. We started off as a tiling contractor. So after close to 15 years being a tiling contractor in the early 2000s, we moved upstream to becoming a main contractor, and I have also completed notable projects for clients like SP Satir, Putrajaya Holdings, just to name a few. So the first opportunity really came to us when we were entrusted to venture into this revival project as a white knight contractor. So we had to fund the project ourselves. It was, I think, 100 over units of landed properties in Puchong. It was called La Cottage, but that was our stint as a contractor. So after that, we got recognition from the ministry, KPKT, and Ministry of Housing and Local Government. So we were entrusted to go in to revive the largest abandoned project in Malaysia, which was known as Taman Kenanga, located in Salak Tinggi. So the whole abandoned project spanned across 315 acres, and it was abandoned for more than 15 years by the time NCT took over. So after we went in as a white knight developer, we revived the project in 2 years' time, and also handed over 713 units of homes to previous buyers, ranging from the second generation to third generation homeowners. This is something that we are very proud of because it's part of our CSR initiative as well. So concurrently with the venture into reviving this Salak Tinggi project, we also went in to revive the largest abandoned project located in Genting Highlands, right? So we revived the building that was known as Billion Court. It is just directly opposite Amber Court. So now we have revived Billion Court into a 5-star hotel development known as Grand Ion Development, together with multiple Malaysia Book of Record awards given to the project. Currently, the award that's being given is the highest altitude full-fledged service apartment in Malaysia, right? And that is how we got started into doing all these revival projects, essentially. So when you talk about the profit margin, the higher than average profit margin is mainly due to our focus on reviving all these abandoned projects, because in terms of the profitability, we have a better control in terms of the entry cost or land cost. Because if you know, for conventional development projects, the land cost to GDV ratio can be around 15 to 20%. But in our case, for all these revival projects, the land cost to GDV ratio is around 5% of the total GDV. I'll just take the Genting projects as example. So Genting projects, we have two parts actually. The first phase that we have completed, we call it Ion Development, which was the revitalized Billion Court. The second part is called Grand Ion Majestic, which is still currently ongoing. It is just adjacent to the completed Grand Ion Development project. So these two projects have a collective GDV of around 3 billion ringgit, and our entry costs to these two projects are just at 18.5 million, including the compensations that we made to the previous buyers and everything. So this actually gives us the land cost to GDV ratio of less than 1%. So we have more room and buffer to be realized from all this development. And the listed core currently is also having its revenue and profit mainly contributed by the Grand Ion Majestic in Genting Highlands, with the gross margins going up to 35 to 40%. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, it is because of our focus on the revival projects, coupled with strategic locations that give us good selling price and value to the buyers. Yeah, I think the process itself, because all the schemes for all these abandoned projects that we have done, we covered under scheme of arrangements under the Companies Act. So there is a series of legal procedures that we have to be very familiar with and to follow through. That is, of course, the first challenging part of that, getting yourself familiarized with all these things. Second part would be to be able to come up with a win-win scheme for all the stakeholders, especially frustrated purchasers who have waited for 15 years for their homes, but still yet to get anything. And then, of course, the financiers as well. They always have all these vendor projects but under their non-performing loans portfolio and everything. So it's also a distress for them. And the authorities as well, the local authorities, this is considered to be the part of their so-called KPI initiative to clear off all these abandoned projects currently in the books, right? So us as the white knight developer have to coordinate everything to come up with a scheme that will be a win-win for all the stakeholders. For example, a purchaser will be given two options, right? So they will be given a choice whether they want to opt in to continue with us as the new developer, or they can opt out, meaning to say there will be some compensation given to them, right? So if they were to opt in, what kind of rate that they have to top up to pay us to complete the remaining works and hand over the properties to them, that is also a factor that we need to consider. And also, how much is the fair price to be paid to them if they were to opt out from the development? That is also another factor that we have to consider. So collectively, all these factors will come down to the site assessment that we usually have to do at the very beginning. How the site looks like, how's the condition, whether the location is viable, whether the whole thing is feasible. So I would say, that itself requires a lot of expertise and experience to get through even the first stage. And when you talk about any other abandoned projects that we have identified so far, actually, yes, we have. We are continuing our journey as a white knight specialist, revitalizing abandoned projects. The most recent one that we have ventured in under NCT Alliance Berhad is two of the abandoned Genting Valley project, two phases of the abandoned Genting Valley project, which is located in Patang Kali. I think just 5 minutes from Patang Kali town. Actually, overall, the abandoned project is around 200 over acres of land. So the listed co is going to revive 80 acres, which covers two phases of the abandoned project. Right, the timing of launching will be somewhere by second half of this year or early next year. It is all landed residential development, looking at maybe single-story houses to be developed. On the other hand, actually on our private group of companies, we have gone in to revive two of the abandoned phases of this Genting Valley project also. So the project first phase was launched in March 2022, and we have already achieved 80% of take-up rate. The products that are being offered here are double-story and also single-story houses. So collectively, if we look at the phases under the private side and under the listed company, it will be a 200-acre development with over 2,000 units of residential homes in Patang Kali. It will be essentially a new township, and I think first of its scale in the town of Patang Kali itself. So the catchment area that we're looking at here is actually, the crowd from Rawang, Serenda. There are some industrial areas in the vicinity as well. Also not forgetting Potong Jaya as an alternative that we can provide to instead of them, having only high-rise developments as their choice. Okay, actually, our initial plan all this while was to go for an IPO. We have done a lot of groundwork before that, actually, going towards our plan of getting our company listed. So, we were also quite fortunate because we stumbled upon this opportunity to get a majority stake in this listed entity, which was known as Brand Flow Berhad. One of the main reasons why we decided to go in is because the company back then has already diversified its business into property development as well as the core business. And the company is also a clean company with little to no gearing. So that is the reason why we did take over in 2019. So moving forward, we actually have stated our intention very clearly to make this entity a flagship for all of our group's property development activities. And so all the new projects that we will undertake, starting from the time we take over, will all be part under the listed company. So that's why just now I mentioned, the abandoned project is now being undertaken by two different entities, one under the listed co and one under the private side. So the reason why this situation happens is also because most of our projects under our private side actually commenced before we even initiated the takeover of this company back in 2019. However, we are also exploring the possibility to see if our assets on the private side are feasible for acquisition and whether they are earnings accretive and value adding to the company or not. So at the end of the day, whatever that we do, we seek to benefit the company. Like we can see from our most recent exercise in 2021 that we did Genting acquisitions, the acquisition of Grand Iron Majestic development rights to the ongoing project, and also completed units that come with rental returns, guaranteed rental returns for the company. So you can see from Q2 last year onwards, we have had tremendous profit and revenue growth since then. So these are the kind of exercises that we seek to do if we were to do, and we are in the midst of exploring that. I think maybe we can just say what our wish list is. I think other players will share common thoughts and views as well. The first thing is, of course, for new projects, HOC, house ownership campaign, can actually play a very critical role to stimulate consumption in the property market. Also, there are actually existing or previously introduced incentives, for example, like stamp duty exemptions to cover for abandoned project buyers, and also first home buyers. Like for example, the stamp duty exemption for first home buyers is currently up to 2025, good thing to stimulate more consumption. Also, during I think previous Jana budget, this loan to value cap of 70% for third home buyer onwards was also uplifted. So if the uplifting can be reintroduced, then we might see more activities ongoing in the market. And in terms of the secondary market, just my personal opinion, we may want to consider to lower foreign ownership threshold, because there are still quite a number of units overhanging in the secondary market. It might not be a bad thing to allow for new funds to come in, new buyers in, to try to reduce that, create more transaction, so that new projects, because we need more transaction in the secondary market, since there's so many there's so many properties still overhanging in the secondary market. If the local market cannot take it all, the foreign or new funds coming in can help to stimulate that, then it will definitely bring up the pricing of the whole market. As we all know, property market has been going on a downturn since 8 years ago. I think it's about time, the prices start going back up, also reflecting some of the cost push factors that be ongoing right now.